Okay, so on the top left is my father. That's Bob. He's a mortgage loan officer. He's a darn good mortgage loan officer, but my dad does sit quite a bit during the day. And he reached out to me the other day and he was so happy he got 500 steps in. And I was like, oh boy, Dad, that's great. Great. Okay. And we need to have a conversation about, how he can try to be more active. But if there's a will, there's a way, and you have to have the will first. And if you don't have the will, unfortunately, you can't do very much about it. I can talk to you all about strategies of what you can do, but if you don't incorporate it and you don't do it, and it's just info that you don't let it sink in, nothing's going to change. And so my hope is that the info that I provide to you all, it'll be kind of a motivator to be aware of how much you're sitting during the day. Our life has changed to where it is so much easier to be inactive than it is to be active. It takes a concerted effort and it takes mindfulness to be active during the day versus nowadays there's so many ways that we just are not active and we don't even think about it. And we purchase things to help incorporate us being a little bit less active. We drive and we commute and think about the amount of time we might spend on 270 or 670 or 315 and how that can affect how much we're sitting during the day versus biking and walking like we used to do, or perhaps how things are in other countries. We have McDonald's and the invention of the drive-through. We don't have to go out to the grocery store anymore and get our food. We don't have to hunt to go get our food. Instead, we just stay in our car, we go around and we get our food, and there's no steps that are involved in getting our food for the evening time or lunchtime. And then now we have the invention of the robo lawnmower. So now we don't have to mow our grass anymore, which is great. We can do other things like watch Netflix, or we can whatever takes up your time. But I do think that it's so much harder now in our life to be active than it is to be inactive. It's much easier. We have the robotic vacuums for our house now. And I think that these things can be good, not so much the McDonald's, but the robotic vacuum or the lawnmower, if that helps you connect more with your family or do things that are really important to you. But if that void is only taken up by Netflix or something that doesn't necessarily contribute to a higher quality of life, then we're kind of defeating the purpose of being a little bit more active. So as I said, technology and just in general, our life, we've made great advances, as we all can, guess and assume, especially here living in the United States. The bad news is that we've become very much more sedentary. The gentleman to the right, any idea who he is? Anybody? Any guess who that guy is right there? Benjamin Franklin? No, that's Charles Babbage or Babbage. He is the founder of the computer, the first computer. I thought it was Bill Gates personally. I almost put Bill Gates up there, and I was like, you know what? I better validate that it was Bill Gates that made the first computer, but it was not. It was this gentleman. And I think we all could agree that the computer and social media has changed our lives significantly. If not us, it's the younger generation. Instagram, there's just video games. There's a lot of things that are taking up our time that distract us, that we are very much more sedentary than going outside and playing wiffle ball, or going outside and shooting some hoops, or going out and like building a fort or something like that. Maybe some things that we used to do as kids. We now, I read it in the literature, we now hold the record for sitting the most in history. We sit the most, which is not necessarily a good thing to hold the record on. 50% of the US jobs do not require any physical activity at all. On average, adults sit 13 to 15 hours per day. 43% of adults are sedentary. And so I looked up, like, from a quantitative perspective, how do you define sedentary? And that is 5,000 steps or less per day is considered sedentary behavior. We as Americans on average get about 5,300 steps per day. So we're just barely over that sedentary range. The Amish community on average walks 14 to 18,000 steps per day, which I thought was interesting. So just in general, we are just not moving enough, and likely to blame are all these different technological advances that just make it so much easier to be inactive. The sitting disease, that's what it's being called now. It's not the act of sitting, it's the result of sitting. There's a condition called metabolic syndrome, and it's a cluster of different conditions that gets defined as metabolic syndrome. But metabolic syndrome is very much like the sitting disease. What ends up happening is we have an increase in blood pressure, we have increased cholesterol, we have increased abdominal fat the more that we sit, and essentially it increases our risk for diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and death. If you sit a relative amount, such as 8 hours per day, you're at a significantly higher risk of death just from sitting. In addition to sitting, look at that. I already scared her. I did my job right there. There we go. I'm just teasing. But anyways, in addition to that, I will say COVID did a number on patients when it came to just ergonomic positioning and musculoskeletal issues. Business was booming for us because of office issues. Then people weren't going into work and people were staying at home. They were sitting on their couch, typing away 8 to 10 hours per day, coming in with neck pain, back pain, hip pain, knee pain, just because they were more sedentary, and the ergonomic setup just was not ideal for them. So yeah, you're at an increased risk for that stuff, and we'll go over some of those things too. This is what was the most interesting point: was 8 hours of sitting without no physical activity at all is equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes per day. Isn't that crazy to think about? 8 hours of just sitting, which think about it, easily kids are probably playing video games for 8 to 10 hours during the summertime, and it's so unhealthy for them. So yeah.
I use my standing desk as opposed to sitting, but I'm still just not moving really.
Would you not jump the gun? Let me get to my point. No, so are you asking it? No, no, I'm just teasing. I get to that. I'm going to talk about that, but no, are you asking that when you stand, is it as bad as sitting? So yeah, so when you stand, you have about 20% increase in metabolic burning. So you have an increase in like calorie burn when you stand. You have more muscle engagement as well. There's less issues from an orthopedic standpoint on your body. The problem is you're still sedentary. Sedentary is 5,000 steps or less per day. Standing at a desk is not a replacement for exercise. It's better than sitting, yes. And also when you stand, you are to move more. You're likely to move more. So versus when you sit. So there, it is beneficial. And I was going to mention later on in the presentation that I would recommend a sit to stand workstation if you have the ability. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Overall, it's clear that standing and moving is much more better than sitting. I think we can all agree to that. To move or not to move, that is a question, as Shakespeare would say. So I think from just speaking about some of the problems with sitting, locomotion is a lot better than if we sit, stay, and repeat. There's nothing good that comes from sitting overall. Maybe a little bit, and I'll touch on that in a little bit from an orthopedic standpoint, but overall, we're just doing way too much sitting, and we need to change our behaviors. And I think COVID really showed just how unhealthy as a society we really are. It's just, we're sitting a lot. There's a significant increase in obesity rates. We're just very unhealthy overall, and just changing our behaviors is a huge step. I love this guy. He's wearing a t-shirt, walking his way to 100. Isn't that like so true? The World Health Organization, they recommend 150 minutes per week of moderate activity. And I'll explain what moderate activity is after this. So that's essentially 30 minutes per day of moderate activity, 75 minutes of vigorous activity, 2 to 3 days per week of strength training. Regular exercise results in an increase in muscle and bone growth, increased blood circulation, improved mood, increased metabolism, improved sleep and rest during the night, neurogenesis, which is brain cell growth. The hippocampus is involved in learning and memory. And so when you exercise, it actually helps prevent Alzheimer's and dementia because it helps the hippocampus. It helps slow aging. It helps reduce inflammation. So, I mean, it's just moving is a lot better than sitting. And that's my point throughout this whole presentation. Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So the recommendation from who?
Yeah.
Are you saying that there should be an and after each one of those? So all three of those things? I've heard that it's 150 minutes per week of moderate activity is beneficial.
Yes.
Are you?
Or 75 minutes of vigorous activity. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And
2 to 3 days.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
Okay. But I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm working on the 150. but
Yeah, no,
at the end,
sorry,
so
nope,
you're-
sorry. Or,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no problem. So the question was for anybody that's on virtually, if it's 150 minutes per week of moderate and 75 minutes of vigorous, or if it's or between those, and it is between those, which is what is recommended by the World Health Organization. And then in addition to that, 2 to 3 days of strength training. Oh yeah, no problem. The question is, what is moderate activity? The CDC says any activity that's between 50, that causes 50 to 70% of your heart rate max. Does anybody know the easy, quick way of determining what your heart rate max is? Anybody? There you go. You got that right. Yeah, that's the kind of the easy way of 220 minus your age is the way that you determine your heart rate max. So you want to do some sort of activity that will cause between 50 to 70% of your heart rate max. The way that you can also tell you're doing a moderate activity is that you can tell that you're exercising. You know that you're doing something that's getting your heart rate elevated. That's the key. You have to get your heart rate elevated. It can't be like, I'm just painting away and it's, I could do this all day, 7 days a week. It should be something that you know that your heart rate is elevated. You can talk, but you can't sing. And then in addition to that, you might be sweating too. The different examples of moderate activity I listed below. So, and of course, you can always vary or modify how intense, like I put down there elliptical. Well, if you have it at such an intense setting and you're just, going at it as hard as you can, that's going to be a little bit different than if you're just kind of going at it at a moderate pace. And everyone's different. So moderate pace is very individualized. It would be hard for me to tell you like a certain, level that you would have to be doing it at. I think ballroom dancing, that's interesting. Water aerobics, leisure swimming, doubles tennis. So a bunch of different ways, vacuuming, raking, mopping the floor. So, yep. So overall gardening, that's a good thing. Strategies for how you can increase activity when you're working a desk job. Adjust your desk. So doing more standing, like get a sit to stand workstation. You're, as I said earlier, increased chance of you moving throughout the day. Stand every 30 minutes, set a timer. You can easily get on Amazon, find a timer, a cheap one, I'm sure, or get on your phone and set a timer every 30 minutes. You get a buzz. And I think even the Fitbit too, if you have one or some sort of smart device, you can set it up to where after 30 minutes, if you haven't moved, it will buzz you. When you get a phone call, consider standing and walking. When your boss or someone that you're talking to in person wants to chit chat, maybe you walk while you chit chat instead of just doing static standing. Every hour, if you could just try to find several minutes to just interrupt that sitting and just go do some sort of activity. I think of just getting a little refill of the coffee, go get a little bit of a K-cup or something. And there could be a number of reasons for why you would just get up, but it is recommended every 30 minutes to an hour, you're trying to interrupt sitting and you're trying to go do some sort of activity briefly. The other thing that I think would be great, and I think would be the best thing that you could do, is have a goal or a plan for that day when you're going to work or when you're just about to start your day. And there are some larger group muscles exercises that I'll go over in a little bit, but whether you do some mini squats or whether you do some wall push-ups or whether you do some sort of mini lunges, some sort of large group exercise that you could do almost every hour. And if you go with the plan, today I'm going to focus on my legs. I'm going to do calf raises every hour, or I'm going to do some sort of plan that involves movement every hour. I think that that could be a huge benefit to actually doing it versus, okay, I was told I need to do an hour of activity, but 5 hours went by. Oh yeah, I'm going to do this or do that. The other thing too, I think, is just kind of get your coworkers involved. What I try to do during the day is Thalia, some people have mentioned her, she and I will plank every day. So, and it's like, and I have a joke, and if you talk to her, you guys should say it, it's better than a cup of coffee. It's better than a cup of coffee. It wakes you up, it energizes you, and it makes us feel good too. So I think we've done our plank to 230 before, which is pretty good. So anyways, just get your coworkers involved, or maybe you give them a heads up and you just say, hey, I'm trying to be a little bit healthier. Just FYI, if you see me doing something over here, it's because I'm trying to just be healthy and I have this plan. And if you want to join, perfect. If not, just FYI, so that you don't think something's wrong. Ergonomic setup from a sitting position. You want that, you want the monitor to be pretty much eye level. You want your shoulders pulled down and back. You want a better lumbar support than what these white chairs provide to you. You want your hips and knees bent about 90 degrees, and you want your feet flat. As far as the elbows go too, you don't necessarily want to be typing up here, just because there's issues that can come about for prolonged typing up here. If possible, you want whatever you're typing on in your mouse to be low to where your elbows are bent at 90 degrees. So that is like the ideal desk setup right there. Some common issues that I see with patients that come in over time, they get pretty involved in their work and their head starts to migrate forward. And I'll talk about that in a minute. You start to round through your shoulders and you start to have a lot more compression through your thoracic and lumbar spine. Sometimes that seat is too low as well. And then the hip joints start to get pretty tight and you can create what's called impingement in the hips. So those are some common issues that I see when you sit. Over time, especially if you start to forget about your posture. The sit to stand workstation, I would encourage it. There are pros and cons to it. The pros are, as I said, you're going to have an increase in metabolism about 20% than if you were to sit. You have increased muscle activation throughout the day as well versus sitting. When you sit, your back muscles actually are not really engaged, and you can actually facilitate weakness around your back. And that is a common problem that we're seeing with Americans, and likely why there's such a huge chronic back pain problem amongst desk workers, is because their lumbar spine, the muscles are not engaged. They get stiff and they get weak, and then they try to be active and rake and they hurt their back. The other thing too is that when you stand, you're at an increased, there's an increased chance that you're going to move throughout the day. The downfall is that you have a little bit more pressure on the hips, the knees, and the feet. And so it might be helpful for this gentleman to get some sort of like anti-fatigue mat to stand on, some sort of nice rubber mat. And that should help cushion the feet and cushion those weight-bearing joints. There was a study that was done about sit to stand workstations, and they found that after a month, unfortunately, most individuals that had one of these, they were sitting a lot during the day. They weren't really utilizing it as much, unfortunately. So that's one of the few cons too, is that people just, especially this guy, who wants to crank their desk every 30 minutes to an hour? That just doesn't sound like it's realistic, and they're going to do it. Now, I've seen at IKEA, they've got the electric, it will come up and come down. And then I had a previous picture too, that you've got something that it's on your desk and it can adjust to come higher, or it can come down lower too. I would probably actually, So when you have a sit to stand workstation, 30 minutes is what's recommended. So 30 minutes to an hour is what you should be doing to change positions. Every 30 minutes to an hour, change positions from an orthopedic standpoint, especially too.
So, sit, stand,
Exactly. Every half hour to an hour, you're changing positions because you're changing forces on your body. That's where it's really beneficial for you. Yep. So yeah.
What
Go ahead.
about the stability ball? If some people sit on those,
Yeah.
is that good? Is it pushes you to your posture?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The question was about stability balls, and unfortunately, as this also mentioned, after about a month, people aren't really using it the way that it should be, which is every 30 minutes to an hour, change positions. The stability ball, how hard is it for us to just sit with good posture with an upright chair with back support? It's kind of hard already for us to, over time. It's even harder when you put a stability ball involved in it. It's not really recommended, unfortunately, to have a stability ball. Yeah. What's recommended is that if you're going to be sitting some. And what's even better is that the sit to stand workstation. No stability ball, just because we can't even sit with good posture with this. You know, how hard is that when you put a Swiss ball underneath you? So it's not really recommended, unfortunately. A lot of those things aren't really recommended just because it's so hard for us to keep a neutral spine. How does sitting affect our body during the day? To be kind of general, neck tightness, hips and back, they start to get weaker. Knee pain, a lot of times they've done studies of people that sit all day at a desk job, or that they work in a warehouse and they're active. Imaging has shown that people that sit all day have worse imaging in their spine than people that work in a warehouse, which is very interesting. You would think you just sit, you don't really do very much, but I'll mention here later on what sitting does to your spine essentially. So from a PT standpoint, working at the spine center for 5 years, not a whole lot of benefit comes from prolonged sitting. How heavy is your head? How many people have seen this picture before? Okay, one. Okay. I love showing this to patients when they come in with neck issues, especially if they work at a desk most of the day. When your head, or I say your bowling ball, is right over top of your shoulders, you have 12 pounds of pressure on the base of your neck. When that head migrates 2 inches forward, you have 32 pounds on the base of your neck. When that head migrates 1 more inch, now you have 42 pounds of pressure on the base of your neck. When patients come in with neck issues, I tell them simply, what is better on your spine? Is it going to be 12 pounds of pressure, or is it 40 to 50 pounds of pressure on your neck? And obviously it's going to be reduced compression on your neck by 12 pounds. In addition to that, when your head migrates forward like that, it starts to engage certain muscles that's not really advantageous and helpful for neck issues. It's much more better on our neck and on our spine to have that bowling ball right over top of the shoulders. Okay, so just a little info. I had one guy, he came in, he had neck surgery, and he was on a roller coaster down in Disney. He had whiplash. He ended up having neck surgery. He came to see me because he still had this pain at the base of his neck right down here. And so we worked for about a week or so. It was kind of getting better, but he wasn't too sure if we were making much change. He told me that at the end of his workday as a construction worker, he would get on his laptop for about 4 hours, and he'd put that laptop in his lap on that couch. And he'd, over time, his pain would start to get worse and worse at the base of his neck. I showed him this picture. We talked about the correction. He called me a week later and it was gone. It was just because he was putting the laptop in his lap on that couch for hours at the end of the night. Pressure on your discs. We talk a lot about like degenerative disc disease and stuff. And if we want to unweight our back, let's look at decompression. When I start in therapy with patients, I usually will do some decompressive exercises. So you have 25% of your body weight on your back when you're lying down. And then when you're standing, obviously you have 100% of your body weight when you are standing. Now, when you bend forward and you have poor posture, look at the increase in spine compression. When you add weight to it, 220% of body weight. When you sit, sitting has more compression on your spine or pressure than when you're standing. So you have a 40% increase when you're sitting versus when you're standing. You do reduce that pressure on your back with a little bit of being extended, but what happens when you slouch even more? 185% increase in pressure on your discs. So there is a difference though, like we do have joints in our low back. So when you do sway back, you do cause those joints to be a little tighter. But as far as pressure and compression on the discs of your spine, the more slouch you are, the worse it is on you. Okay. Some corrective exercises. Does anybody want to demonstrate? I'll do this. I'll do the ones on the two on the floor. But anyways, hamstring stretching, a super basic one. Studies show that if you do hamstring stretching, it can help alleviate back pain significantly. And it's usually a go-to. It's like overlooked a lot when patients come in with back pain, but I always will go and check out their hamstring length and see how tight they are. This takes lower back pain. Yeah, lower back. Yep. The hamstrings, it takes a long time for these guys to get a little bit more flexible. It's not going to be an overnight 1 week kind of thing. It's like 2 months of just being consistent, almost twice a day of stretching these guys out. I would recommend longer duration holds. So you do about 30 seconds. Some studies have reported 14 minutes, but that's not realistic. 30 seconds, 3 times per side, twice a day would be beneficial, especially if you've been sitting. Think about it like this. When you sit, the hamstrings, they attach onto the ischial tuberosity, which is right here, and then they come down and they attach onto the back part of your knees. In this position here, it is in a shortened position when you sit. So it is beneficial, especially if you sit a decent amount during the day, to stretch the hamstrings out. The other one, the other muscle group that gets really tight when you work at a desk are your hip flexors. So they attach actually onto the front part of the spine and they come down and attach over onto the side of your hip. But anyways, the hip flexors get really tight when you sit for a long period of time. These 2 exercises alone are very helpful for low back pain. Hamstring stretching and hip flexor stretching. Same thing goes with hip flexor stretching. I would say, and I brought in a pad, but I would say put some sort of cushion down, some sort of cushion. I would even say like a couch, like a couch cushion or something that has some significant padding for the sake of your knee joint. And you just get down onto one knee. And what you do is you try to take your pelvis, and it's called a posterior pelvic tilt. What that's going to do is it's really going to bias that hip flexor that attaches up here, comes down to the side. So you do a posterior pelvic tilt, and then you just sink in through the front part of that knee until you feel a really good stretch back here. And the same thing goes about 30 seconds, trying to do about 3 times per side. The other stretch that I love to do with patients that I find to be just very beneficial is the open book stretch. Did you want to do it?
I do.
Well, come on up.
What reason I'm here?
Oh, okay. You wanted to exercise, huh?
Well, yeah, I wanted something a little more hands-on.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
Well, then I'll have you do them.
I'm sedentary, like my back is bothering me and all those problems. That's totally.
Yeah, but also it's good to,
So frustrated by it.
yeah, I hear you. And it's good to get the information too, right?
Yeah, it's like going like this. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
I wanna
okay.
Do it so you can.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you're talking about.
Okay, let's go through it together. Okay, so I'm going to mirror you. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so first of all, you're a little rotated out. Try to square your hips forward. It's hard. There you go. Put your hands on your pelvis. Good. Now, what you're going to do is imagine you're taking your tailbone and you're trying to tuck it underneath you. You're trying to tuck your tailbone underneath you.
Okay.
Okay.
This has different terminology for that.
What's that? I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Oh, she just,
You're talking about thalia?
yeah, she just calls it something different. That's
So it's
all.
called a
So-
posterior pelvic tilt,
Okay.
or you can tuck your tailbone. That's the
Alright.
other cue. Then you're going
Yeah.
to take your left knee while keeping your pelvis like
So
that.
am I stretching? What am I, like after this stretch down here?
So yeah, you'll feel it in your quadricep, but also right in through the front of your hip here. So you take your pelvis, you tuck it underneath you, and then you take your left knee and you bring it forward if you can. And then you hold it right there. Now it's also a stability exercise too, trying to hold that position, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, you start to shake a little bit.
Really tight there.
So
Yeah.
Sean, I'm
Yeah.
looking at Marty's left leg
Mhm.
out more than what yours is. Is there a, what would you recommend? with that?
If it's out that far, you're going to get an even deeper stretch. Yeah. Now, if it's intense, if it's an intense stretch, back off a little bit. Okay.
Just,
Probably
yeah.
the knees will let it-
Actually, this will take pressure off the knees if you have your leg forward. And think of it like this: the more that your knee goes past your toes, a lot more pressure goes through that knee joint. But if your foot is forward more, it takes pressure off that knee, but you're going to get an even more intense stretch in the front part of the hip.
There's a nice machine here.
There's a what? Ice?
A really nice.
Oh, nice machine. Yeah.
Exactly this muscle.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Got to use it then, right? Or if you don't have time to come here to the gym, do it, and what I would also say is during the workday, I think different employers have different expectations. However, if you need to take a break because your back is killing you, why not take a yoga mat with you if you have the ability to, and you just take a break out of that sitting position and you get into like a hamstring stretch on the floor, and maybe you have a belt that's with you at work, and you have some sort of cushion or a yoga mat that you can do this hip flexor stretching with too.
Just a straight leg, basically.
If you can get a straight leg. Yep. Hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yep. And it's a static hold. So you just try to hold it for about 30 seconds, 3 times. Now, the other one that we're going to do, let's go to the open book stretch real quick. Have you done that one before?
I do all sorts of,
Oh, okay.
my hips are so tight all the time,
Okay.
but
Let's extend that yoga mat out then for you, huh? Here we go.
Like you said, as you're getting that ready, static means, so like for the hip flexor, you're holding it. there,
Holding
you're
it.
not pulsing.
Exactly. Static hold. Yep. When you pulse, you are at an increased risk for injury. It's called like ballistic stretching. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. I was
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no
we
problem.
do with Thalia are not stretching usually.
What about Thalia?
Well, we pulse in our class.
Oh, gotcha. Uh-huh.
It's not it's different. It's not a stretch, it's an exercise.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like an
Like a-
anaerobic.
Gotcha. So let's, which side hurts or bothers you, both or one? So let's do your right side. Go on to your left side for me.
Okay.
We're going to stretch your right side.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So in this position here, the knees are in a bent position and hips are in a bent position. When you get into this position here, like the fetal position, the joints in your low back are going to be opened up. You're going to take your top arm, your right arm, and you're going to rotate backwards. Let me move the chair so you don't drill it. You're going to rotate backwards and your head follows that hand all the way back. And you hold that there for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all the way back to starting position. What I like about this is you get a good pec stretch on that right side, which is a muscle that gets tight when you sit. It also opens up the facet joints in your low back when you rotate to that direction. So go on, let's do it again. Follow with your eyes. 4, 3, 2, 1. You get a little thoracic rotation. Essentially, I think that this is one of the best desk stretches that you could be doing. Doesn't it feel good? Yeah, all the way back to starting. And then your job is to try to keep your knees down if you can.
Oh, where they coming up?
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now go back to starting and try to bring your knees up a little higher.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. Knees are bent. There you go. Good. And just make sure you have a good breath going with this too. So like you could breathe in when you come back. So breathe in. And then when you go back behind you, breathe out through your mouth and try to relax your muscles. Just trying to relax. Good. See the increased range of motion she got there? Okay. And then breathing in as you go back. And then let's do another one.
So the idea is the hips have to be stacked the whole time.
That's right. Yeah.
This is on the ground.
Yeah.
that's the-
Yeah. All the motion's coming from the lumbar, thoracic, and then obviously the shoulder as well. So yeah. And then let's do the other side real quick. Did you get any pop with it? The chiropractor roll is also called the $1 million roll. And this is essentially the position that you're kind of going into when you go see the chiropractor about your lumbar spine. They'll get you in a position like this, and then they manip the back. So knees stay planted. Okay.
It's hard to self-plant.
Nice. How about one more for good luck? Good. All right. Stay put there. We'll have you just keep demoing unless someone else wants to jump up here too. Yeah, sure. Go. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've had knee surgeries and I'm wondering, can you put your knee like that in that position safely on a mat?
Yeah. So
The hip flexors?
so
I've had those knees replaced.
So that's why I want to know.
yeah, yeah.
Are you asking if there's another way to do this without pressing on the knee?
There definitely is. There's many ways that you can stretch your hip flexors. Yeah, without kneeling. Now, I guess the question I would ask you is, do you kneel on your knee at all?
Not really.
And if you avoid,
Yeah, I try to avoid it, just makes me feel
yeah.
uncomfortable.
And that's why I say if you get a lot of cushion, should be fine. But if the surgeon has told you like don't kneel, and if your knee swells a lot too, with the, just for a basic kneel and then you get off versus you stay put for 30 seconds, 3 times, it's probably going to swell on you. So then there are other ways to stretch your hip flexors, as simple as just looking up hip flexor stretching could be helpful because there are a number of ways. The other way too is just in standing, just like that too. So you tuck your tail underneath you and then you just sink into it. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else or? Oh, no. I was just, why would they swell if you don't have an injury? Well, it's hard to say. I mean, some people could have a circulatory problem for one, but two, it could just be, I hurt my knee back when I played tennis when I was 20. And if I'm a little bit more active, it starts to swell. The knee usually will swell from an orthopedic standpoint to cushion the joint. So it's like advantageous, it's helpful, but it does give you a little awareness. One, do I have a circulatory problem? Like if you have varicose veins or whatever, or two, you might have a little meniscus issue or something going on in there that is causing that knee to swell up. So that could be the reasons there. The other thing that this is actually based off some research as well. When a lot of times when people work at a desk or if they sit a decent amount during the day, the neck becomes a problem. Oftentimes it's a high incidence of neck issues. So I just put on here shoulder shrugs. So let's go and stand on up. I have a yellow band somewhere. Oh, it's okay. I just chose a yellow band just because nice and easy. How's your balance?
Not bad.
Okay. So we're going to double her up. Okay. And then you're going to take the ends and we're going to loop it like that. Okay. And then you can separate your feet some just like this. And then I just want you to imagine, we'll go over this in a second, but imagine your shoulder is a clock. Pull up to 12 Hold that for like a count of 3 to 5. And then you're going to take your shoulder blades and then you're going to pull down and back to 6, up to 12, down to 6. All right, show her off.
I do shoulder blades all the time, and I like no idea how weak that was for me.
Tall posture, beautiful. So imagine your shoulder blades are a clock, 12 o'clock's up here. We pull up to 12, hold that 3, 2, 1. And then now imagine 6 o'clock's down here and you're trying to pull down and back with your shoulder blade. So you're going to release. Yep. And then you're pulling down and back to 6 and you're going to hold that 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to pull up to 12, nice and tight. This is usually the problem of why people come into therapy, and then pull down to 6. So you're trying to imagine there's a quarter right here. Yeah, that's perfect. That's what gets people out of therapy. And then up, 2, 1, good. And then pull down to 6. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's like ridiculously hard.
Is it really?
Well, yeah, we'll do this over and over and over again in our class, and I just dying at the end.
Oh,
you know?
really?
Yeah, I feel like all my sitting has made that so weak.
Yeah, hard. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Careful coming off of there. And then let's do some reverse flies. So what we'll do, let me just demo real quick. So you're going to take the end of the band. You're going to loop it just like that. Shoulders down, heads neutral. And then you're going to take your shoulder blades. Imagine there's a quarter in the lower middle part of the shoulder blades, and you're trying to do a little squeeze. Okay. I should have brought more TheraBands for everybody. So tall posture, tall posture. Okay, I like how you're keeping your wrist straight right there. And then with your shoulder blades that are sitting right here, imagine there's a quarter right down and through here, and you're trying to do a little squeeze as you pull apart and bring that band to your chest. Oh yeah, sure. Yep. Yeah, top of the shoulder, stay down. And then you're trying to squeeze right in through here. Rhomboids are up here. This is actually your low trap, low and mid trap. But rhomboids are involved in it. They are. I mean, it's rhomboids, mid and low trap. They're all involved with doing retraction.
Make a difference if you're lower, like to get that area, or you want it up high?
So
You know
it's
what I'm saying?
either way, whatever doesn't allow you to do this, it doesn't really matter. I think it's more so the act of just pulling your shoulder blades together. So
Yeah.
if doing this prevents this, then perfect. So, but when you go a little higher, you get a little bit higher into that cervical spine. So anyways, I would say endurance based. In all of these are more endurance based. So I would say like higher reps, like 20 or so, 20 reps. And I would probably say like I just had her do 3 to 5 second holds. Same thing goes with this one here. Have you guys seen this exercise before? No? Ooh, okay. Can I see that? Thanks. So you can take a towel, you can take a TheraBand, you just put it right above the ears, okay? Right above it, or it could be like kind of down in between the ear and your head. But all you do is you take your hands and you just do a little bit of pressure forward. And as you do that, you take your chin and you press back into that band. And that is a oppo exercise of what we tend to do during the day, which is that. So it's cervical retraction that you're doing. So you just put it around here, and then you take your hands, you pull forward, and then you take your head and keep your chin tucked in, and you push back. Let's see it done. Now, when you do this, we're not there, right? Keep those shoulders down, a little pressure forward, a little head press back, and you hold that 3, 2, 1, and you relax. The tension that you want to feel is when you push that chin back towards your throat, and you want to feel a little bit of tension back here too when you press back.
Shoulders. Normal. Like kinda what you're-
Yeah, it looks good. Yep. I would just even say like elbows in, take a little
Mm.
pressure off the shoulders. Yep. And then you're just going to press back into that band. Yeah. Boy, doesn't that look beautiful? Huh?
I can feel it, yeah. I
Yeah.
can tell that, like, I couldn't probably do right now.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just go to the next one here. These are the larger group movements that I mentioned earlier. Like if you go to work and you have a plan on what maybe larger movement groups you would want to do. Like today, I'm going to just work on my legs. So maybe I do some squats and some lunges every 30 minutes to an hour. Maybe you knock out 5 or 10 or, whatever the time allows you to do, but larger group movements. So lunges, how are you with lunges? Let me see. Let's do a lunge. Nice. Walking lunges. Now tell me something. If you were sitting all day, doesn't it feel good to do like some walking lunges and some squats and things like that? It feels good. It feels good. You get that endorphin relief too. And just, it feels great. So we have lunges. She demonstrated. Let's see your squat real quick. Your squats. And just let's face the group here. Nice. Yeah, do a couple. Let's see it. See how she's keeping her knees pushed outward? That's great. Now, this is what we're going to do real quick, okay? We're going to have a little bit more fun. We're going to take this band and we're going to tie it around the knees like this. Okay. And then what you're going to do, make sure you tie them with your knees together. You're going to take your feet just like they are like that. And then you're going to sit right back into that squat and just keep your knees pushed out into the band. Okay. Let's see it.
What's the benefit of
You get a little bit more glute muscle activation. And it forces you to keep the knees pushed out versus allowing the band to pull those knees together. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry about that.
Can we go online and access these?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I don't know if they would have access to it or not. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No problem.
I'm supposed to have my knees go out?
Yeah. Well, how you were doing it exactly before, just don't let your knees fall inward. So how you were doing your squat before was great. Just don't let the band win. Yeah.
So is it on your knees or a little bit above?
It's like right joint, pretty much like joint line essentially. And if the knee hurts you, then maybe you go a little bit up or so. But yeah, okay, let's see it. Perfect. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Now hold it down there for 10 seconds. Keep those knees just a little bit out. Hold 10, 8. Good, and come on back up. Okay, and let's do it again. One more. Beautiful, nice job. That was great. How's that feel? Doesn't it burn a little bit down there? Not much? Okay, then get a harder band then for
Yeah, the band
resistance.
really
We'll go to the next one here. All right, and then push-ups. Anybody want to demonstrate and the way that you would modify is elevated push-ups. So you would just go up to a wall, just like this. And the further you go away, the harder it is. So, you could be upright and then you're just a little bit away from the wall, and then you would just lower down, and then just.
more than like the knee. Like I can do the knee, but doing the straight leg just really aggravates. It's really hard not to aggravate my back.
What are you talking about?
Doing anything like that.
Oh.
Like if I go down to my knee.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
do
It's
partial,
intense. Yeah. Yeah.
I can do that, but
Yeah.
if I
It,
do those, my back will just go.
yeah. I'm just talking about like large group movements that you
Yeah.
could do, you know, and you don't necessarily have to do push-ups, and you can always modify how you do the push-ups as well. So just
like the idea of picking a goal for the day.
thanks.
Taking that one, just like building it in, like doing the lunges.
Exactly.
Makes it very accessible. Very simple.
If we have the knowledge, perfect, but you actually have to do something, you have to change it up. And so what is my goal for today? Every hour I'm going to do 5 lunges, or I'm going to do 5 squats. You could even do squats against the wall. You can get it up against the wall, walk your feet forward, and just slide down just like that. And you can hold it, you know, for 5-10 seconds or so, and then come on back up and just repeat 5 to 10 times or so.
And then with the lunges,
Mhm.
do we do walking lunges or stationary?
Whatever you can do. I would say you could hold on, you could do a reverse lunge, you know, and that takes away a little bit of the balance aspect of it. You could do the forward lunging, and you can just push straight back to starting position, just like that. It's whatever your knees will allow you to do. Side lunges. Yep. I should have just put on there lunges. Just, yeah. And easily you can look up lunges and see all these different types of ways you can do a lunge. It's not like that lunge is the most important. It's just in general, movement is important. And so larger group muscle movements like lunges, like squats, like push-ups is what I'm recommending that you do. Yeah, thanks. The last thing, corrective exercises as far as back, like back strengthening goes. So you have the planks, which are very, you know, most people know about what the plank is. You could do a forward plank, you could do a side plank. Nonetheless, planks are very good for the back. Anybody want to do a plank real quick or no? No. The other one that huh? Bird dog, one of the better core exercises that you can do. So get on something nice and cushioned, and then you would just lead with the one arm and leg, and then you hold for isometric. So it's an isometric, you hold it, it's endurance based. You try to hold for about 10 seconds or so, and then you try to do about 5 times per side. And the other thing too to try to focus on is pulling that belly up and in like a J motion, and hold that tension in your core while you do this isometric. Okay, so bird dogs. So trying to do about 10 seconds, maybe you do 2 seconds, maybe you do 5 seconds, and then you try to work up. Planks, again, you could do lying down, or you could even do the wall. You know, you could get here and then you can walk away. Don't let your pelvis sink in. Try to keep your back straight and pull your belly up and in that way. So just ways that you can modify if you're creative enough and you want to look it up. Yes. She's on like a mat. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And then bridges. So most of us have done bridges before, but you know, you just pull the belly up and in, and then you push down through the back of your arms and push down through the heels of your feet, and then you lift your glutes up, and you try to hold that isometric, your belly and glutes. This is a complete opposite desk exercise right here. It stretches areas that get tight, and it strengthens areas that get weak on you. It's stretching your hip flexors, other than not the hamstring there, but it's at least strengthening your core, strengthening your abdominals too. So what I would say with that is endurance based. Again, you try to do 5 to 30 seconds, and you try to do about like 10 to, so if you do like a 5-second hold, try to do 10 to 12. If you hold a little longer, then you reduce the reps. So you would do like 2 or 3 reps if you do 30-second holds. Okay, and then just, you guys have heard you can't out train a bad diet, right? Look at all those calories when we go and enjoy McDonald's versus 45 minutes of kickboxing class. It doesn't even come close to what we ate in calories at McDonald's. So just kind of keep that in mind. You know, if we're trying to just be healthy in general, when we work at a desk, look at what we're putting in our mouths, you know. So, and I know I'm kind of guilty of that as well. Okay, guidelines, what we've kind of worked up to this point. Studies show you need 60 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or activities, as I mentioned earlier, 60 minutes of those activities to counteract the harmful effects of sitting for 8 hours per day. So 60 minutes of raking, which actually probably could go quite quick there. So we could do that here in Ohio, but you know, playing tennis for an hour, things like that. So 60 minutes you need to get in if you sit for 8 hours. Movement throughout the day is key. Trying to just every 30 minutes to an hour, you're trying to break up that sitting for 5 to 10 minutes. You're going for a brisk walk. You're trying to do some of the movements that I mentioned earlier, but the key is movement. You have to move during the day frequently, and that is so helpful when it comes to counteracting the problems with sitting or the sitting disease. As I mentioned with all the other exercises, start with increased reps, reduced hold times, and then as you get better, you hold for longer and you reduce the reps, or you get a stronger band and you reduce the reps. Consider a sit to stand workstation, as we talked about. When you get a call or if you have the meeting, maybe you do a walking meeting. And then the thing that I think is most important is we're aware of the problems with sitting. We need to plan ahead. You set goals. What are you going to do for the day? And whether you achieve them or not, make them realistic. Like my boss gets on me if I take 5 minutes. Well, then you need to have a conversation with your boss, or you got to figure out what is a realistic goal for you to achieve. So every hour I'm going to try to do and get out of my chair and I'm going to do 5 to 10 mini squats. And I'm going to try to do that, or I might change it up to the next hour. I might do some mini lunges. I might do some wall push-ups, just do something to counteract the sitting that we're doing throughout the day. Okay. And then any questions related to this stuff? No? Did you guys learn anything today? Oh, good. Oh, because I sat for 8 hours putting this presentation together. Yes, sir.
So is there any exercise or stretch you can do while you're driving?
Oh, are you the passenger? I would say my best two things. I think that is actually quite helpful, but I think two things. One, I would put like some sort of like mini little pillow behind your back to help like increase that back support. Unless you have a really good lumbar support, you feel like that supports your back enough. The other strategy is you need to interrupt your sitting. It is what it is, you're sitting. So you would like get out every hour based off how, yeah, there you go. Go to that drive-through, it's good for you, yeah. And then let me think, there's one, you mentioned, yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, though, yeah, you're welcome, have a good day. There's really only so much you can do from a sitting perspective. So the point is you got to get out of that sitting position. So, but yeah, like when you're driving, you know, if as simple as just doing some ankle pumps, and I mean, you can't really do very much. You're driving, you don't get in an accident. So pull over and get out. And if you want to help your back and help your joints. Yeah.
For the passenger that have on these long drives, what
Yeah.
would you suggest for the passenger?
Yep. So I would have the back support. So I would probably get a little pillow to help support my back. I feel like most seats in cars don't have enough lumbar support as it is. So get a little something that helps support your back. Maybe you have a little pillow that you ride with if you doze off, that you can be here versus you're sleeping down like this when you wake up. And then there are some like chair exercises, you know, crossing your leg, doing a little press down like that. So it's like a little piriformis stretch. You know, if you feel comfortable, maybe you get your leg up and over that dashboard and you're doing a little hamstring stretch and some ankle pumps too. But when you pull over, you should be like, you should move those joints, because motion is your lotion. So when you move, you actually lubricate your joints. So when you're statically sitting for several hours, your joints aren't being lubricated and you have more compression on your spine and muscles get tight. So, okay. All right. Yep. My pleasure. You guys have a good night. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.